What's up, Nova Nation? This is your girl, Vanessa Supernova. Welcome back to my channel. And today I am spilling tea on why I left my six-figure job as a corporate pharmacist. This is going to be one of my juiciest story times yet. So you're going to want to grab your coffee, your tea, and settle in because we're going to be talking about toxic workplaces, being undervalued, and knowing when it's time to walk away. The craziest part is I felt like this was my dream job. I loved this job at first. Like, I thought I was set for life. But then everything changed. Let me take you through my journey from being an intern to walking away from the corporate world. I got my first pharmacy gig while I was still in pharmacy school. That's like a dream job, right? It started as a retail internship that I got my first year of pharmacy school. The manager at the store actually asked me like, "Hey, aren't you in pharmacy school?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, I got the perfect role for you." And after I graduated, I moved on up to being a full-time pharmacist. After that, there was a quick pivot to putting me into the corporate role, which there's only a few corporate locations. It felt like the biggest blessing ever, and it was. Who wouldn't want to escape the retail grind for a corporate desk job, especially in the field of pharmacy? Am I right or am I right? These were the good days. The pay wasn't good at first, but there were things that made up for it. Overtime was always available. Ask anybody who knew me at that time, I was always booked and busy. And that extra cash helped me buy my dream house and my dream car. As a pharmacist in that role, I was guaranteed lunches and breaks during a time where people were fighting for that still. And they're still fighting to this day. It was just overall a much better work-life balance than working storefront. Management was cool back then. There was a mutual respect, pharmacist to pharmacist, pharmacist to leadership. There was an open door policy. Everyone was supportive. And we genuinely had a good, healthy work environment. I built lifelong friendships and relationships that I still cherish to this day. It really did feel like family. Then things started to change. The first red flag. After the first few years, there were some major corporate changes. New staff, new management, new policies, new building. At first, to me, these upgrades were good. They renovated our facilities, which I thought was gonna be a win. Like, a win is a win, but it turned out to be the opposite. The new setup went from large desks and open personal space to us being just crammed up in this little workstation like we were in a factory line. It started to feel like I was on a hamster wheel, working so hard and literally getting nowhere. I always described it to my husband like being in a glass ceiling. I was trained in new roles. I helped create best practices and standards of procedure. I did all the social and holiday activities, but something clicked. I literally hit a glass ceiling. Let me explain. No matter what I did, there was literally nowhere else for me to go. And that realization hit hard. Now, those who are also in corporate-like setting, you may ask, how could you hit a glass ceiling when you could just climb the corporate ladder? Well, thus the toxic environment enters the chat. In some cases, new management equals new problems. They brought in all this new management, and that is literally where things started going downhill. The new managers didn't care about our workplace culture. They didn't even bother to learn it. The manager I had just so happened to be a former employee who left for a few years and then came back. So she felt like she had it all figured out. She came in literally guns blazing, firing people left and right. Major red flag. The first pharmacist, literally during her first week, she fired a whole pharmacist. This was unheard of. So naturally, we were all walking on eggshells. You know, when somebody come in and they feel like they gotta make a point, it was like that times 10. Over time, the toxic environment only worsened. Everyone was getting write-ups for minor things that literally could have been a verbal. And the stress for me was just getting unbearable. And mind you, this is all happening during the you-know-what, where everything's like shutting down. And healthcare workers were already struggling physically and mentally. Instead of getting support during that time, we just got ridiculous workloads and pennies in hazard pay. I think the final straw and my official breaking point was during, I can vividly remember, it was during a coaching session. Coaching session is a one-on-one meeting with just you and your immediate leadership to go over performance and goals and just building rapport and relationship. Prior to this meetup, they asked us all to write all of our accomplishments for the year. And I'm not one to brag, but y'all already know I had pages of achievements, accomplishments, accolades, and contributions. When it came time for my annual review, they gave me a poor score. I was confused, so I asked why. And my manager looked at me and said,
"What have you done for this company?"
Oh my God. Whew. Woosah. Y'all, the amount of disrespect I felt in that moment, I was done. You hear me? I was done. That was the moment where it clicked in my brain that I was done. I had poured my heart and soul into this company for years. And for her to not even bother reading any of my achievements, because let's be honest, supervisors can't keep up, especially in a corporate setting with all their employees. And so that is why they ask us all to write down our accolades and achievements so they can review it and give you a proper score. But she already had an agenda. Like I said, when you have a supervisor who's coming in guns a-blazing, trying to make a point, many a times it's because they're trying to set precedents here. And I just wasn't feeling that. I don't feel like it was professional and it wasn't fair. But back to the toxic work culture, gossiping, micromanagement, and crazy metrics that put patient safety at risk. Not only that, it put our license at risk. It became abundantly clear to me that I just couldn't stay there. They were asking us to sign off on questionable things that I just wasn't comfortable with doing. I really did feel like at one point my license was on the line. I realized I'm not retiring here. This is not my future. The stress from the job wasn't just something that was mental. It became physical. It literally manifested itself physically. I started to get sick. My body was physically exhausted from the long hours and the mental toll of working in such a high stress environment. I was driving an hour to and an hour from work, sometimes 6-7 days a week. I sacrificed so much of my personal life for this job. I miss time with my husband. I miss time with my family. Time that I will never get back. My final decision, I prayed really hard about it. And y'all, God confirmed that I need to leave. And you know, I don't want it to be misconstrued with when you pray to God and you already have something in your mind. I truly went to God with an open heart because this was a corporate company. I could pivot to another location. I could pivot to a different role that had nothing to do with the office. So I yearned to God for answers, and that's what I got. I was scared, of course, because literally that was my first pharmacy job and that's all I knew. But I trusted God. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Leaving that job felt like I was jumping off of a cliff. We were just in a time of so much uncertainty with the workforce, with the economy, with healthcare in general. But I knew in my heart I could not stay any longer. After I decided to leave, everything fell into place. I started applying to other jobs and I kept quiet because I didn't want anyone at work to know. Remember, toxic work environment, right? My health started improving the moment I made the decision to leave. What I learned is if you are in a toxic work environment, you have to put your self-care and your mental health first. Do not wait until it's too late. Do not quit without a backup plan, but also don't sacrifice your health for a paycheck. It's never worth it. I know it's scary to leave something comfortable, but if God is telling you to move, you have to trust him. He won't steer you wrong. And who knows, maybe I knew all along that I did have to leave. And maybe I wouldn't have been willing to move on my own. And when it's God's will, God will start shaking things up until you move. Cause baby, God's will be done. In the next video, I'm going to go through what it's like to start over in your 30s, my job search process, and how it felt to leave everything I thought I knew behind. If you stuck through to the end of this video, make sure you like this video so I know to make more videos just like it. And if you enjoyed it here, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a thing. Remember, Nova Nation, your mental health comes first, always. I will see you in the next video. Bye.